Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
Y'all ready for this?
Hi everybody, it's Doreen, and I'm back today with a sympathy card that I've made for a co-worker of mine whose brother passed away. So we will be using the silhouette today, and if you have the Card Creator Dies, you can also use those as well. So what does our card look like for today? This is the card that we will be making. So come on and join me, and I'm going to show you how I made this card. Okay everybody, so we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to show you how to lay your pieces out on your mat to make this card. So now what I've done is I decided to go ahead and create myself a template so that when I design my cards I can have the size of the card and the bottom layer and the top layer and any other layers I decide to add onto the card. So I've created a template and it looks like this. So this is the actual size of my card, which is going to be 4 1/4 in width and 5 1/2 in height. And then the next layer is my bottom layer, or what I'm calling my bottom layer, and this measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Now I got these measurements because I'm basing it off of my Card Creator letter A die. So this size would, if you have the Card Creators, this would be letter A 1. And I'll give you the actual measurements to put into your silhouette. So you're going to go ahead and put in 4.125 for the width and 5.375 for your height. So then my next layer, which would be my actual top layer, that layer is going to be from the Card Creator letter B 1, and that width is 3.875 and the height is 5.25, and I've labeled that top layer. And then for my inside layer is the exact same size as my bottom layer. So for that, you're just going to put in the same size. So you can go ahead and cut these out using your silhouette if you want, except for your card piece. You cut your card piece. If you're going to cut it with the silhouette, you'd make it 4 1/4 by 11, and then you would have to take it and score it in half. But what I've done is just made just what the front of the card actually looks like. And then once I've got all my template created, then I can take my pieces and layer them, at least the bottom and the top, onto the card, so then I can put my embellishments on the top of the card. So let's go ahead and get started. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and we're going to use this because we'll just rename this, and I'm saving this as my template, or I just won't save it. So since this is my card, what I'm going to do is, because I've got this group together, I'm just going to ungroup this, and I'm going to take out the word card. So now we know this is our card itself. So then the next thing I'm going to do is just go ahead, and I'm just going to do a right click rather than going down to the bottom. I'm going to ungroup this, and then I'm going to get rid of bottom layer. So what I would do is put this on top of here, and then I can go ahead and do the same thing for my top layer. I'm going to ungroup that, and I'm going to get rid of that, and then I'll add that on the top of there. Now, to make sure that I have all of this centered the way I want, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I grab everything, and then I'm going to go up to my align window, and I'm going to click the align center. so that now all of my pieces are aligned together, and then I can go ahead and right click and group them. So now here is my actual front of my card, and we're just going to move the inside layer out of the way. So now let's go ahead and start adding our embellishments. So the cross with the flourish and the flowers is a Silhouette Studio file. So I've already downloaded it to my library, and I will put in the description bar the name of this file as well as the number. So let's go out to my library, and we're going to grab this one right here, and it is called Cross with Lilies. So we'll go ahead and double click it and add it to the mat. Now as you can see, this is grouped together, and I do want to cut this in separate colors, and I wanted to lay this on top of here so I could see how it would look. So I'm just going to right click and ungroup. Now when you ungroup, you have to also realize that you've ungrouped these pieces here. So first thing we're going to do is we're just going to move our cross over, and then I want to go ahead and group all of this back together by right clicking and clicking group. So now I have all these pieces grouped together. Now the other thing I need to do is I want to resize this. So I'm going to get the measurement of what size I made the cross. So the measurements for the cross, we are going to make it 5 inches. So we're going to go ahead and go to our scale window and just type in 5.0, and what you want to do is lock your aspect ratio so that it comes out even in height and width. So I'm going to go ahead and click lock and then click apply. So now I have my cross, which I'm going to kind of move over and up just a little bit. So now the next thing I want to do is readjust my flourish, because I want my flourish to be a little bit taller. So I'm going to set it, and I'm giving you these measurements because I've already done this before, but my height is 4.55, and I'm not going to lock the aspect ratio. I'm going to adjust that to 3.56 and then click apply. So it just makes it just a little bit wider because I want it to go across like so. So that's basically it for the front of our card. So now the next thing I'm going to show you is how I did my inside for the card, and that is using the print and cut feature. So once again, we'll make our take our inside layer, which we have right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to group all this together so I can move it out of the way. But remember, it's up to you how you want to cut your layers. If you're going to use the Card Creator by Spellbinders, or if you're going to use your Silhouette to cut your layers, or you can just do the measuring and use your paper trimmer to cut out your layers. But for now, I'm just going to have them all grouped together, and I'm going to move it over here, and I'm going to bring up my inside layer, and then what I'm going to do is ungroup the inside layer, and we're going to remove this. And then, as I've shown you before, you go ahead to do your print and cut. What you'll do is click on your text window, and the textile window will open, and then you'll choose your font, and the fonts are the fonts that are on your computer. So I believe the font that I use was this Bix Antique Script font, and I did set it for, I believe it was 24, and then I just type my text. Like so. And so then once you have all of that and you have all of your text inside, then the next thing I did was I went ahead and I decided that I wanted a border around my text. So I went up to my fill color window first, and I chose the color No, let's undo that. I'm sorry, I meant to choose my line color window, which I've chosen, and then I'm going to go ahead and change that to the color that I want it. Now I want my line to be thicker, so what I'm going to do is go up to the line style window, and then I'm just going to go ahead and pick my thickness, and I think I'll have it about that thick, so that when you do the print and cut, it will color or print out this thickness and this color. And then when you go to send it, that's when you send it to the printer. So, but when you get ready to cut it, you are going to go up to your cut style window, and you're going to make sure that you take your text and make that no cut, because what it's going to do is just cut the outside edge of the layer here, or your inside layer. So now let's get out of the cut style window, and we need to add our corners. So those are also a silhouette file, and the corners that I use we're going to use are these right here. So what I've done is I just went ahead and brought it over to my inside layer, and I just resized it based on the amount of text that I had inside here. And I'll jump over to that file so that you can see this is my text right here, and then I have ungrouped or created my corners. We'll just take this one right here, and as you can see, it fits down inside there, and then my other layer fits there. So that's it, everybody. That's how I laid out my card, and that's how I come up with how I'm going to design a card using my little template that I had showed you earlier. So now what I want you to do, if you're going to make this card, I want you to go ahead and lay out all your pieces, cut them out, and then meet me back at the table. Okay, everybody, so let's bring up the supplies so we can get started making the card. So now, as I showed you as I was laying it out on the mat, our card is going to measure 8.5 by 5.5, and you're going to take it and score it in half to make it a 4.25 by 5.5 inch card. And this card stock is just some of the Michael's Craft card stock. So now our next layer, remember we used the measurement for this, and with this I actually cut this out using my Card Creator Dies, and the die that I used was letter A, so that makes this 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then I showed you how to, if you want to cut this out using your silhouette, what you'll need to make the measurement for that to work. So once again, this is letter A1 from the Card Creator die, and it measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So we're going to go ahead and put this on our card. Now this card stock is some Recollections card stock. So let's get out the ATG gun, and we're not going to be adding any ribbon. So we're just going to get some tape on here, and then we'll add this layer to our card. So I'm going to open up my card, and I'm going to go ahead and lay this down. And just press down. Okay, so now we're ready to add our next layer. Now this layer measures, and this is actually from your Card Creator letter B, so it measures 3 7/8 by 5 1/4, and I gave you the measurement when we laid it out on our mat. So this is letter B1 if you're using a Card Creator die. The paper itself is a paper pack that's called the Indian Handmade Paper Stack, and it says that this is 5 by 7, I'll lift that up so you can see that. And sorry for that glare. But technically, it is really not 5 by 7. Or it is, but you can't use this whole piece like I wanted to, because this piece right here is perforated. And you really can't see with that one. I'm going to pick a lighter color so I can show you what I'm referring to. So if you look at, let's see if you can find a lighter color. We'll just look at the back of here. You'll notice they've got a perforation in here. So it's not truly a 5 by 7. It's actually almost 3 3/4. So I wish that, you know, they would put the correct measurement on there, because this piece does come off. Like, as you can see right here, from where I've torn it out and used it before, it splits. So what I did was, I very carefully ran this through my card creator, because it wasn't wide enough for the size that I needed. As I said, you need this to be 3 7/8 by 5 1/4. So what I've gone ahead and done is, you'll see I have a little perforation right there, but that's still going to be okay to add to our card. So we can go ahead, because we're not putting any ribbon on this one as well, and put our tape on the back and add this to the front of the card. So I'm going to make sure I get tape along that edge, that perforated edge there, so that that stays down. And then I'll just go across and be careful that I don't tear that as I'm putting on my tape. So I'm going across this way, and then across, and across. And then we'll just add this layer to our card. And we're going to take that and lay it down like so. So now we have all of our layers on our card, and we're ready to add our embellishments on the top. So now we've cut out the cross, and I just went ahead and cut this out using some more of the craft cardstock. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to lay everything down so I can line it up and get it on here the way I want it. So I'm going to put the cross here, and then I did cut 2 of these because they did break up or not cut all the way through, and I think it's because it's really time for me to get a new mat or get a new blade, and I just don't want to do it, because you know me, if I can get a deal on something and I can keep using it, I'm going to keep using it. So technically I really should. It's about time to change my mat, probably, as well as my blade in my silhouette. So I'm just going to lay this out on here like so, and then I'll add my little flowers where I want them to go. I'm going to probably place one there. And I'm just going to keep continuing to add my pieces. So I'm going to add the pieces of my embellishments on the front of the card, and then I'm going to come back and we'll talk about the inside of the card, and then that'll be it. Okay everybody, so I am back with the finished card. So I've gone ahead and added the cross and the flower and the flourish that I showed you how to lay out on your mat. And then in the center here, I've gone ahead and added these little flowers. And these flowers are actually from an EK Success Punch, but I went ahead and scanned that into using my scanner, and then I was able to resize them to the size that I wanted. And I've used these before. I did this on the previous explosion box that I did, where I had the cupcake in the center. So I just cut them out. I had a ton of them already cut out, and then I just go ahead and use my Yasutoma watercolor paints and color it whatever color I want. So I'm going to bring that up so you can see it. And then down here on the bottom, I've gone ahead and used my computer to print out this saying. It just says, with sincere sympathy. And I used my Spellbinders die, the labels 4, and scanned that into my computer. And then I put my sympathy inside that and then die cutted that out using my Big Shot. So then for our inside, I've gone ahead and put the corners that we laid out on our mat here in the top corners, and then I used my print and cut and printed out my sentiment. So now, because this card is going to be mailed, I'm not going to put anything on the envelope. It's just going to be a plain envelope addressed. So that's it, everybody. This is my sympathy card that I've made for my coworker who's lost his brother. Thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. Bye.